It happened on a crowded Saturday afternoon inside one of the city's most exclusive department stores. A young black man was browsing quietly, dressed neatly, carrying nothing but his phone. Without warning, a white security guard stormed across the floor, grabbed him from behind, and slammed him against the polished tile. Shoppers froze. Some gasped, others pulled out their phones, and a few muttered in agreement with the guard as he barked, "Got you this time. Thought you could walk out with merchandise?" The young man didn't resist. He stayed calm, even as the guard pressed him down and accused him loudly of stealing. His only words were steady and clear. "You're making a mistake." The guard sneered, convinced he'd caught a criminal in the act. But within minutes, everyone in the store would learn just how big a mistake he had made. Because the man he had just tackled wasn't a thief at all. He was the owner's son. The store fell into a stunned silence as the guard held the young man pinned near the front entrance. The polished marble floors, the racks of designer clothing, and the soft background music all seemed to fade beneath the weight of the scene unfolding. Some shoppers stopped mid-step, their bags dangling from their arms. Others craned their necks from across the aisles, drawn by the commotion. A few clutched their children closer, whispering warnings about shoplifters, as if the accusation itself was already fact. The guard's voice was harsh and booming, carrying across the store. "You thought nobody was watching, huh? Thought you could slip something under that jacket and walk right out? Not on my watch." The young man, still calm despite being shoved so roughly, spoke clearly. "Check me. I don't have anything. You're making a mistake." But the guard wasn't interested in reason. He tightened his grip on the man's arm, ignoring the words, ignoring the people filming with their phones, ignoring the reality that nothing in his hands or his jacket resembled stolen merchandise. His mind was already made up. "I've been doing this job for 15 years, the guard bragged loudly, puffing his chest as if he were delivering a victory speech. "I can spot a thief a mile away." The crowd was split. A few nodded approvingly, muttering things like, "Good, somebody's finally taking care of crime around here." But others looked uneasy, shifting on their feet, their eyes flicking from the guard to the man on the ground. There was no evidence, no struggle, nothing that looked like theft. All they saw was a young black man tackled without warning. One older woman near the fitting rooms raised her voice. "Excuse me, officer, where's the proof he stole anything?" The guard shot her a glare. "Ma'am, I saw what I saw. Step back and let me do my job." But the woman didn't step back. She crossed her arms, her voice louder now. "All I see is a customer being assaulted. If you had proof, you wouldn't need to scream about it." The guard ignored her, instead jerking the young man's arm to haul him upright. The force made him stumble, but he steadied himself quickly, brushing his jacket without anger, only quiet resolve. He repeated again calmly, "You're wrong. I haven't taken anything." By now several shoppers were recording from different angles. The glow of phone cameras only seemed to fuel the guard's performance. He raised his voice even louder, practically announcing to the store, "This thief thought he could outsmart me. Didn't even make it to the door before I caught him red-handed." But there was nothing red-handed about it. His hands were empty, his jacket pockets flat, his calmness starkly contrasted with the guard's aggression. Another shopper, a younger man, stepped forward cautiously. "Hey, I've been standing over there by the watches. I didn't see him take anything," the guard sneered. "What, are you his buddy? Don't defend a criminal." The young man shook his head firmly. "I don't know him. I'm just saying what I saw." More murmurs spread across the store. The division was clear now. Some were eager to believe the accusation, while others were beginning to question why it was made in the first place. Through it all, the supposed shoplifter never raised his voice, never lost his composure. He stood upright now, shoulders squared, meeting the guard's glare with steady eyes. His dignity remained intact, even as humiliation pressed down on him from every direction. One child whispered to her mother, "Why are they hurting him? He didn't do anything." The mother hushed her, pulling her closer. But the words hung in the air like a truth too simple to ignore. The guard, however, kept pushing. "We've got cameras everywhere," he barked. "Don't worry, I'll drag you to the back and show everyone exactly what you tried to take." "Then do it," the young man replied evenly. "Let's look at the footage. You'll see you're wrong." That answer rattled the guard. His bravado faltered for just a second, but he quickly covered it with bluster. "Don't get smart with me. Thieves always think they can talk their way out." Shoppers were no longer just bystanders. Some openly voiced disapproval, muttering about harassment, about lawsuits, about the risk of attacking someone without evidence. A few even began siding verbally with the young man, saying he was handling the situation better than anyone else in the room. But humiliation lingered. No matter how composed he remained, the guard's public accusations had already painted him in an ugly light. The whispers, the pointing, the cameras, all of it was a stain on his dignity, and the guard reveled in it, mistaking cruelty for authority. The young man took a breath, his voice steady but carrying weight. You keep saying I'm a thief. You're wrong. And when you find out who I am, you're going to regret this. The guard laughed dismissively, a harsh barking sound. Oh, I can't wait to hear this one. Who are you supposed to be? Some kind of celebrity? But the laughter didn't last long. The way the young man held himself, the calm certainty in his tone, unsettled some of the onlookers. It planted doubt. Doubt that would soon grow into something much bigger. For now, though, the humiliation hung heavy in the air. The guard believed he had stripped the man of dignity, dragging him down in front of strangers. What he didn't realize was that his arrogance was building a stage, and when the truth came out, it wouldn't just clear the man's name. It would flip the entire room against him. The tension in the store had reached its peak. Shoppers stood frozen between racks of clothing and displays of handbags, their phones still raised, recording every second. The guard, chest puffed out with self-importance, gripped the young man's arm tightly, convinced he had proven himself as the ultimate protector of the store. Then a sharp voice cut through the chaos. What on earth is happening here? Heads turned. The store manager, a sharp-dressed woman in her 40s with an air of authority, strode toward them. Her heels clicked against the polished floor as she scanned the scene. Her employee clutching a customer like a criminal. Onlookers wide-eyed, and tension thick enough to choke on. The guard straightened, as if he'd been caught doing something noble. I've got him, boss. This one thought he could slip merchandise out. Not on my shift. The manager's eyes narrowed. What merchandise? The guard pointed vaguely at the man's jacket. He hid something. I saw it. All eyes shifted to the young man. Calm as ever, he raised his hands slightly, palms open, jacket flat against his frame. Check me, he said. There's nothing. He never saw anything. He just assumed. The manager's brow furrowed. She looked back at the guard. You searched him? The guard hesitated. Not yet, but I know what I saw. Then search me, the young man said again, his voice carrying clearly. Empty my pockets, pat me down, check the cameras. You'll find nothing. But when you're done, you're going to realize exactly how badly you've embarrassed yourself. The guard scoffed, still clinging to bravado. Listen to this guy, talking like he's somebody important. You're not fooling anyone. But the manager's instincts were sharper than that. Something in the young man's calmness, his refusal to panic, unsettled her. He didn't look like someone caught doing wrong. He looked like someone waiting for the truth to surface. Then he spoke again, slower this time. I told you you're making a mistake. My name is Daniel. Daniel Whitfield. The room stilled. A few of the shoppers blinked in recognition. That name wasn't just familiar, it was iconic. The Whitfields owned the store. Their family name was emblazoned in bold gold letters above the entrance, synonymous with wealth, prestige, and generations of luxury retail. The guard let out a short, mocking laugh. Whitfield? Yeah, right. And I'm the president. Nice try, but the manager froze. Her eyes widened slightly, disbelief flickering across her face. What did you just say your name was? Daniel Whitfield, he repeated firmly. I'm the owner's son. And you just tackled me to the floor in front of half the store. A ripple went through the crowd. Shoppers who had been filming gasped audibly, their phones capturing every second. One man whispered, Wait, he's the Whitfield kid? I saw him at the gala last year. Another muttered, That's him. I recognize him now. The manager's face drained of color. She turned slowly toward the guard, her voice tight. Do you have any idea what you've just done? The guard blinked, his bravado faltering. He's lying. He's just saying that to get out of it. But the crowd was already buzzing. People who had doubted now remembered articles, photos, events. The resemblance to his father was unmistakable. The guard's certainty crumbled as recognition spread across the room. Daniel, steady as ever, straightened his jacket and looked the guard directly in the eye. I tried to tell you. You didn't care. You saw me, and you decided I was a criminal without proof. You humiliated me, and you humiliated this store. The manager stepped closer, her voice icy. He's telling the truth. I've met him before. This is Mr. Whitfield's son. The guard's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. His earlier arrogance drained away, leaving only a pale mask of panic. The shoppers erupted in whispers now, no longer hiding their disdain. He tackled the owner's son? One said incredulously. What an idiot. Another added, That's going viral for sure. Daniel didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His composure carried more weight than any shout could. You thought you were protecting this store, he said evenly. But the truth is, you disrespected the very family that built it, and you did it because of your assumptions about me. The guard stammered, I didn't know. That's the problem, Daniel cut in. You didn't know, but you thought you did. You thought my skin told you everything. And now everyone here sees exactly what kind of man you are. The manager, clearly horrified, turned to the guard with finality. Get out, now. I'll deal with you after I speak with Mr. Whitfield himself. But as of this moment, you're done here. The guard sputtered, trying to salvage his pride, but no one listened. The crowd wasn't on his side anymore. Even the shoppers who had cheered him on earlier now looked away, ashamed to have agreed with him. And as the guard slunk away, head down, the focus shifted entirely to Daniel. The man he had tried to strip of dignity, but who now stood taller than ever. The guard's arrogance had evaporated, but the damage was done. The store buzzed with restless energy, shoppers whispering, phones still recording, employees standing stiff and uncertain. The humiliation had shifted entirely from Daniel to the guard. But the fallout wasn't finished. Not even close. Within minutes, the click of hurried footsteps echoed from the far side of the store. Heads turned. A man in a dark tailored suit appeared, flanked by two senior staff members who looked as though they had been dragged away from important meetings. His presence filled the room instantly. It was Richard Whitfield, the owner of the store, the patriarch of the Whitfield family, and a man whose name carried weight across the entire retail industry. The guard paled, his lips trembling as the realization hit him. He wasn't just dealing with a mistaken accusation anymore. He had assaulted the son of the man who signed his paycheck. Richard's eyes locked onto his son immediately. Relief flickered across his face when he saw Daniel standing upright, unharmed, though still visibly shaken from the ordeal. He crossed the floor quickly, ignoring the gawking shoppers, and placed a steady hand on Daniel's shoulder. "Are you all right?" he asked softly, his voice low enough to carry only to his son. Daniel nodded. "I'm fine. He didn't hurt me, just humiliated me in front of everyone." Richard's jaw tightened. He turned slowly toward the guard. His voice, when it came, was not loud, but it cut sharper than any shout. "Explain. Now." The guard swallowed hard, fumbling for words. "Sir, I thought he was shoplifting. I saw him near the jackets, and I thought he stuffed something under his clothes." "You thought?" Richard's tone was measured but ice cold. "You tackled my son in front of customers because you thought." The guard's voice cracked. "I've been doing this job for 15 years. I can spot suspicious behavior, and you can't even spot the son of your employer," Richard interrupted, his words slicing the excuse in half. "My son, who was here quietly browsing, not bothering anyone. You didn't ask questions. You didn't check cameras. You didn't speak to a single manager. You saw a young black man, and you decided that was enough," the crowd murmured. The truth was being laid bare, not in whispers now, but in Richard Whitfield's unflinching voice. The guard's face flushed red. It wasn't about that, sir. I was trying to do my job." Richard stepped closer, his presence towering. "Your job is to protect this store, not disgrace it. Your job is to ensure safety, not humiliate customers. And certainly not to assault my son." The guard's eyes darted toward the manager, silently begging for support. But the manager stood rigid, arms crossed, her expression betraying none of the sympathy he craved. She had already chosen her side. Richard didn't let up. His voice remained steady, deliberate, every word striking like a hammer. "Do you know what you've done? You didn't just humiliate my son. You humiliated this entire brand. You humiliated every shopper in this store who had to witness your arrogance. You turned an afternoon of shopping into a spectacle of prejudice." The shoppers, emboldened now, began voicing their agreement. "He's right," one woman called out. "I saw the whole thing. There was no reason to tackle him." "Yeah," another man added. "If that's how your security treats people, it says everything about your store." Phones were still up, recording every second. The story wasn't just staying in the room. It was already halfway across the internet. The guard's breathing grew shallow. "Please, Mr. Whitfield, I didn't mean any harm. I didn't know who he was." "That's the point!" Richard snapped, his composure finally cracking into raw anger. "You shouldn't need to know who someone is to treat them with dignity. Whether he's my son, a stranger, or someone who walked in off the street, he deserved respect. Instead, you treated him like a criminal without a shred of proof." The silence that followed was deafening. The shoppers, the employees, even Daniel, all waited to see what would come next. Richard took a deep breath, steadying himself. His voice returned to calm, but the finality in it was unmistakable. "You are finished here. Pack your things and get out of my store. Effective immediately." The guard's mouth fell open. "But sir," Richard raised a hand, silencing him. "No appeals, no excuses. You don't belong in a place built on service and respect. My family spent decades creating an environment of trust. You destroyed it in minutes. Security from another division stepped forward, the irony not lost on anyone in the room, and began escorting the disgraced guard toward the exit. Shoppers filmed every second, capturing his fall from arrogance to humiliation as he slunk away, head down, his earlier bravado gone. When the doors finally shut behind him, a wave of relief swept through the store. Shoppers clapped lightly, some even cheering. One woman approached Daniel and said softly, "You handled that better than most people ever could." Daniel nodded, his composure intact, though his eyes betrayed the weight of what had just happened. Richard turned back to the crowd, addressing them directly. "On behalf of my family, I apologize for what you witnessed today. This store was built on values my parents instilled in me: respect, dignity, and fairness. What you saw from that man was the opposite of everything we stand for." There was a ripple of approval. People nodded, reassured by his words. The brand's reputation, though shaken, was steadied by the clarity of his response. Richard then turned back to his son. His voice softened again. "You didn't deserve this, Daniel, but you handled yourself with more dignity than I could have asked for." Daniel offered a faint smile. "I wasn't the one who needed to prove anything." And with that, the confrontation ended, not with fists or shouting, but with truth, composure, and the unshakable dignity of a family unwilling to bow to arrogance. By the time Daniel and his father left the sales floor, the store was buzzing with conversations, and phones still buzzing with notifications. The incident hadn't stayed within those walls. Clips of the guard tackling Daniel were already spreading across social media. Hashtags naming the store, the guard, and Daniel himself were trending within hours. The video told the story clearly: a young black man being treated like a criminal, only to reveal that he was the son of the owner. Public outrage grew quickly, and while many condemned the guard, even more people praised Daniel's composure. He hadn't raised his voice, he hadn't retaliated, he had simply let the truth surface. For the Whitfield family, the situation was both a headache and an opportunity. Richard immediately released a public statement, acknowledging the incident and confirming the guard had been terminated. He didn't try to hide behind vague language. Instead, he named the problem racial bias. "No customer or employee will ever be treated this way again under our name," he wrote. The transparency worked. Shoppers applauded the family for handling the matter head-on. Some even said the way Richard and Daniel carried themselves restored their faith in the brand. The guard, however, wasn't so lucky. His face, captured in dozens of videos, became a symbol of unchecked arrogance. He tried to defend himself online, insisting he was just doing his job, but few bought it. Job offers dried up quickly, and whispers spread that no major retailer would touch his resume again. Daniel, meanwhile, found himself at the center of unexpected attention. Journalists reached out, community leaders praised his restraint, and advocacy groups pointed to the incident as a reminder of how easily bias could ruin lives. Daniel didn't bask in the spotlight. He simply used it to speak plainly. "This wasn't about me being the owner's son," he told one interviewer. "It's about the fact that even if I wasn't, I still deserve to be treated with respect." That line resonated more than anything. It reminded people that the real injustice wasn't just that the guard had tackled the wrong man. It was that he had acted on assumptions that could have destroyed anyone else's dignity. Back at the store, new training programs were implemented, policies rewritten, and staff retrained on handling situations without bias. The Whitfields made sure the lesson wasn't just for show. It became a turning point in how the entire chain operated. As for Daniel, he walked away from the ordeal with his head held high. He hadn't chosen the confrontation, but he had turned it into something bigger than himself. Proof that dignity, truth, and patience can dismantle arrogance faster than anger ever could. And in the end, the guard who thought he was protecting the store had ended up being the one who nearly destroyed its reputation, while the young man he tried to drag down became the face of its integrity.